Of Real Talk. I am your host, Officer Antoine Thomas. Yep, that's me. Every now and again, I'll do that intro, and sometimes I miss out on it. I have a lot of people like me to do that. They make fun of me with that, but it's fun when I hear them do it. That means they're watching the show. But listen, if you have not had the opportunity to listen to the last episode of Real Talk, we had my friend on, Scott Lassiter. He is running for North Carolina Senate, and he's a great man, great friend. Those reviews are still coming out. I see people are still watching. I see the likes and the loves and the sharing, so continue to do that. I really appreciate it. That episode was called A Humble Leader, Scott Lassiter for North Carolina Senate. Now, today I have a wonderful guest on the show. Again, everybody knows that this show is centered around policing, but we do take a special interest in our political season. And so I am doing this political series, I call it, and we're getting great people who are running conservatively around this state. And at some point, I'm sure there'll be some guests from around the country. But right now, we're focusing heavily on the North Carolina races. And so I have a wonderful woman who is running for school board in her county, New Hanover County, which makes up Wilmington and other different cities and towns. She'll be able to explain more about that. But she is a friend to Real Talk, and I would like to humbly bring her onto this show. Natosha Tew, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Antoine. Thanks for having me. I appreciate everybody listening in today.
It's a beautiful thing. Before we get started, I want to let everybody know that Ms. Tew is the family member of two former law enforcement officers. So she has experience dealing with first responders and how that looks. She also is a firefighter, or formerly one. I'll let her explain more to you about that. So she understands, again, the public service and the first responders state of mind, we'll call it. But I do want to let Ms. Tew have her way on this show because, like I stated in previous episodes, these candidates don't get a lot of time to really explain their platform to folks outside of them going to your websites and things like that. But I wanted to hear specifically from Ms. Tew so she can tell you what she's doing and what she's going to do when she wins the seat on school board. So Ms. Tew, the floor is all yours, and we will let you just go forth and let everybody know.
Well, you're correct. I'm the daughter of two, well, I wouldn't say police officers, as sheriff's deputies. They correct me every time, but law enforcement. Yeah. My father retired about 20 years ago. I joined the Wilmington Fire Department in 2012 after being at home with my daughter, who was born in 2007. I returned to the workforce full-time in 2012 with the Wilmington Fire Department, where I served for 10 years. 8 of those years was as a North Carolina hazardous materials responder. So when we moved into COVID in 2020, and where I just was promoted to the city of Wilmington's first emergency management planning and coordinator, I knew that something was not right. They were going against every bit of training that I had been given and that they had paid dearly for over the past 10 years. What I watched unfold over the next 2 years, not just in local government, but especially in our schoolhouses and classrooms, and definitely at our school boards, has led me to this moment where I'm running for the local school board. Since 2020, I realized that it was never going to be the same. My child was never going to be the same. And for me to make a bigger impact in the direction of her life, I needed to get more involved. I researched Moms for Liberty. It took me a little bit to get it going. It's a lot of commitment. But the resources were incredible. The support's been amazing. In the end of June 2022, I launched the New Hanover County Moms for Liberty. And I haven't regretted a moment of it since. What I've learned, the network that I've established, has only made me hungry for more. So when this past election season, it was, I'll be honest, I didn't file till almost the day before the last day. I wasn't sure. That whole week, I prayed on it. God would not let me rest until the moment I made that decision. And as soon as I made that decision, I think I slept for 24 hours straight. I knew the right decision. I knew there wasn't going to be a more strong voice, a more committed voice to a conservative constitutional values. So, and it's been a whirlwind since then.
That is a beautiful thing. And you know what? I know I worked on a campaign, like I was telling you offline, for the sheriff's race, and we were one of the first ones to announce. And that actually can help and hurt because now everybody has the chance to sit back and watch and do and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm not going to do. And I'll tell you, when the future comes for me to make that announcement, I'm going to do like pretty much like you did, Ms. Tew, because when you go into that race, the last moment, you bring what we call a monkey wrench, and people are like, oh my gosh, now we have Ms. Tew. She's a powerful person. But it puts a little bit more fire into these folks. But also, it tells us that you didn't make a split decision. You let God lead you, and you say you couldn't rest. And I believe the same way you believe that was God speaking to you to say, okay, I need you to get into this race. And people will see and hear from you now saying that's a humble beginning there. And you do have a child who is affected by the school system in our state. And we know how that looks. And we need more champions like you. So I want to commend you on your bid for candidacy for school board.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The reason I do a lot of things in my life. If you're a parent, you get that. I will never forget the feeling, and even talking about it still makes my hair stand up. Dropping her off at school with tears in her eyes because she was forced to wear a mask, and she has ADHD. We elect not to use the medicine. We use the other strategies they offer us. And even in school, because she would not keep her mask up correctly, they made her sit in a hallway outside. It gets me so, they're doing such a disservice to our kids. And once I started digging into things, once I started getting involved, I realized it was a lot more than just masking. There's been an infiltration into our education system that parents have to get activated and engaged immediately, right now.
The time is now. And, I talked very briefly about that mask mandate. It was sort of like a segregation and also the COVID shot. I mentioned this to different people. Think about this. They put it in, and this is a prime example what they did with your daughter. They basically, of course, race and mask and COVID is not the same. But listen to me very carefully. When you look at the segregation, they made your daughter sit outside the class because she refused to wear a mask while others did wear the mask. That's a segregated community right there. And, don't even mention the COVID shot. What happened there? We saw people getting laid off. We saw people being refused to go into businesses, even homes, and of course workspaces, and all because we didn't take the jab. That was a form of segregation and discriminatory, because you're telling me that I'm on the same level as this person, but because this person opted to have the shot and this person opted out of the shot, we're on two different levels. No, we're all the same. And now we see all around the country. My question has always been, what are we doing? Because the folks that were vaccinated and unvaccinated, now we're back under one roof. What made the difference? And why was those people treated differently than we were for not taking the jab? And now there's no consequences other than we're seeing people are getting hurt and dying from this shot. But that was a form of segregation, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like one. Not just in the workforce, but everywhere you went in public. My daughter felt it. Because I refused to back down, and I would wear my bright green T-shirt that said "Unmask our kids," not just to the school board meeting. I wore it to all of her volleyball games that they made her wear a mask playing. Yeah, I made it, and it did segregate us. Sometimes I look back and think maybe it'd be nice to know where people stand. I wish it was that easy to see that, because you really could see the bifurcation of where people stood at that time, of whether they had a natural belief in their own immunity, that you could take care of yourself, that you didn't have to take another shot or keep away from people. Let's be honest. When they said that people needed to stay indoors and get off the playgrounds, what's the first thing your grandma told you when you got sick? Get outside, get some fresh air. If chicken noodle soup and ginger ale and saltine crackers didn't fix it, then you had to go to the doctor.
That's right.
Right?
Absolutely.
It went against everything I've been taught. And I often wonder, where did everyone else's survival instinct go? Are they that reliant? Do they trust the government that much? And I guess we got our answer.
We totally got our answer. And that was the prefix to what's to come, because we saw everybody cowardly folding. Now when you look at the school board, and of course you mentioned the mask, and we'll follow into that. We saw that the numbers, and we heard the numbers of recidivism, I guess, when it looks at our child's grades and their educational levels. When you look at math, reading, and writing, we saw that those was very below the standard, and that all came about during COVID. It came out because parents had to now, and again, we're not blaming parents, not all parents, because some have to work, and some had to be that person that made the income, so they didn't have time to really dive into what the children were reading and what kind of homework they were getting. But then when they got a chance to see that, because they were all at home, they was like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are you being taught this? And this led into a new beginning. Is that one of the reasons why you believe God has called you to run? Because you saw what has taken place, the infiltration that has hijacked the schools?
Absolutely. I think they regret putting so much attention or bringing so much attention to our school boards, because there's parents like me that started really digging into things. But looking back, I realized that, and when my daughter was in third grade, that when I tried to help her with her homework, it was this power struggle. And I'm like, come on, I can handle third grade math. I can handle third grade spelling, right? So I went to actually volunteer in her class, and I realized there was not much instruction going on at all. And there was a total different way of educating kids. There are no hard books. Like I remember having to carry like 20 pounds of books on my back. You know what I'm saying? When I was a kid, they don't have that anymore.
No.
But it also made it easier for parents when they wanted to help their kid to explain it in a more consistent way. And there wasn't access to that. I can't tell you how many times my daughter said, I don't, I was like, let me help you with your homework. Well, it's all online. I can't bring it home. I'm like, well, how are you supposed to do homework? How are you supposed to study? Right. Um, as we got into it, we started realizing what was actually available to our kids, and what we learned blew our minds. The No more Scarlet Letter and Macbeth, which I want our kids to go through that same kind of torture that I had to go through. But they don't have that now. They get to read all sorts of other things that are quite inappropriate, pervasively vulgar, and they're completely educationally unsuitable. And once we started going through that, it realized it wasn't just our school and our libraries. It was across the state. It was across the entire nation. And it's only to organizations like PEP, the Pavement Education Project, which I encourage everyone to go to their website. And they also use a website called Lookbooks. You can go to those websites to locate if those books are available in your school. It's going to take you as a parent to request that, to go look and to start making those complaints. But I'm just a parent. I'm just a mom that I won't shut up. And that doesn't surprise my dad at all.
Yes, I love it. And you know what? We saw in California, in the one of the most, probably the most liberalist state in America, some of those parents start fighting back. They saw the drag queen story hours, and it got to the point they actually, you probably remember this, they set up a blockade for this particular drag queen, so they could not make entry to read these books. And of course, they were painted as the bad people, but it got so powerful, and some may say out of hand on the left, but in my opinion, it wasn't out of hand. They said, look, you ain't going in here. We are stopping you at every cost. And they did. They put a damper on that particular day. And I don't know what it looks like now, but we're not hearing much about it, because parents are starting to stand up. People like yourself and many others in our state was already standing up. Michelle Morrow was already standing up. Miss Tew already standing up. People are, and definitely Mama Bears, right? And, you being a part of Moms for Liberty, that is a great organization. I know folks that are in that organization. And also I have some friends that are in Moms for America, and they are mama bears, and they care about what is going on. And I'm glad people like you and many others are standing up to this wokeism and saying we will not tolerate this. And if it takes you getting on the school board and helping make decisions, that's what we'll do. Now, how does New Hanover County School Board look? How does that make up? Is that a split, or is it predominantly left-wing people?
Well, last election season in 2022, we were one of 17 counties in the entire nation, Antoine, that flipped from a progressive Democrat majority to a conservative majority. And you would think, yeah, we were extremely excited, and we had high hopes. I don't pretend to know what it's like to be on the school board. I know that a lot of things get locked up in policy meetings, agenda meetings. I'm hoping to have a better idea of that in a year from now. Uh,
Yes.
but what we had hoped for to happen, to occur, has not actually transpired. Little bits have happened. Our most conservative school board member, who's a Moms for Liberty member, was chair of the DEI committee, and she recently had that just closed. We went to a vote. I didn't expect it to pass, to be honest, but a lot of parents stepped up and spoke out that we didn't want the DEI, and it's just at the Board of Education. Now we understand that this is infiltrated every other part of our local government and institutions and education systems, but this was a big win for us because it was unnecessary and it was a drain on resources, and we got it passed. However, we learned in that committee, actually in a meeting just 4 days prior to that, but it came up in this meeting, that the superintendent, Dr. Charles Faust, who's a Marxist, he has publicly stated in a meeting that he doesn't believe in the Constitution. The Constitution wasn't written for him. It wasn't written by men who represent him. We also learned that he had been working on for since 2021, he said. I believe it could be as early as 2020 when he got here, of a closure of an academy for our kids with special needs. And he was going to use those resources, leverage those resources from that academy, the closure of that, to house and, excuse me. Yes, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what they have going on in Guilford County and Greensboro. They have a school very similar to that, the Sylvia Mendez School. And in fact, our superintendent and his director of academics went on a field trip, a research trip on November 17th to that school. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't believe in coincidences anymore. So I think they had an ulterior motive, and when it came to light, that's how the Steve Bannon interview transpired. I reached out to my Moms for Liberty contact. I told them what was going on in New Hanover County. They did what they could. It happened to, the timing worked out, and we were able to get a lot of eyes on it. And he backed off. He's actually right now trying to say that he sent a memo out, but I'm telling you, the members of that board, they had no idea what was going on. The county commissioners had no idea what was going on. And this transgression of his is just on the bottom of a list of many that he has done in the past 4 years that he's been here.
And this is the county superintendent, huh?
This is the New Hanover County School Superintendent. Yes.
Yes, Marxist is what we don't need. We see what CRT has done to our schools. And like you said, this DEI, which I'm tired of hearing about, is transitioned to every aspect of our workforce. And it's very sad. We have DEI in policing. And I can tell you that policing is just what it is. We don't seek race, gender. We don't seek any of those things. We seek to deter crime and to bring about the best outcome when we're called to a 911 situation. We don't care what your political status is, but somehow this is infiltrated into law enforcement. And then we definitely see it on your level in the schools, and we have to rid that. And we know when God blesses you to get on the school board, you will be able to help make these policy changes. So from what I heard you say a minute ago, it seems that we have some possible rhinos within the school board panel. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes. And unfortunately, they've not been as strong of a conservative that we had hoped for. This Dr. Faust's contract was renewed in a 6-1 vote last August. This is with a conservative majority. I can't tell you how disappointed I was. I don't know that we would not be in this situation, but I think we'd have a better handle of it. I definitely don't think we would have tried to kick out a whole academy of kids with special needs with only less than 2 months notice. I think we would have handled that situation a lot differently. But yeah, his contract was renewed for another 3 years. But when I get on that board, that's the first order of business. I'm going to take care of that and his chief academic officer. They're both toxic to our school system, and they have to go.
They have to go. Yeah, we cannot have a mix-up with a special needs program that is designed specifically for those folks who need it, and we champion that. And for them to use that for any other purposes, it's not right. It's
I'd like to add to that because I don't think people
yes,
realize that I've learned, and this is something I've learned just being a chapter chair for Moms for Liberty, is our special ed kids, our special needs kids. There hasn't been a change in the funding that mechanism for them in North Carolina for over 30 years. 30 years. And last year alone, 616 positions that would service our kids with special needs went either vacated or they were served by someone not qualified. This is a very underserved population. And this is the only high school in New Hanover County designed to help this population out, for him to just callously rip it out with little warning, not just to the board or the county commissioners, but the parents and the students. I'm going to tell you this, if you go back to those meetings, you will see on the December 5th meeting and the January 9th meeting and the January 16th meeting, Antoine, kids, students of that high school that begged them, that superintendent, not close that school. They came with receipts. I wanted to adopt these kids. I mean, I wrapped my arms around them at the end. They came with policy that went like, you can't close a high school without doing this, right? They knew they knew that their high school it was wrong for him to close it, and they weren't going to allow that to happen. I'm incredibly proud of them. And every parent, every citizen should look at that and realize that if those kids have the bravery to do that, then we have the right. We need to stand up for them and, support them.
we have to do it, and that is why you're bidding for that seat. As we begin to wrap up, let me let the listeners hear from you on some of the things that you hope to help champion and implement as a school board member.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity and for just a
You're
chance
welcome.
to out to your audience.
Yes.
We need more people like you on the front lines. I want to end woke education. Our children do not need to judge someone by the color of their skin. We need to judge someone by the content of their character. I want to bring critical thinking back to our schoolhouses and our classrooms. What happened to common sense? It's not common anymore. Let's bring that back. I want that we need to enforce parents' rights. Although there has been a put out for North Carolina, as in New Hanover County, and if a lot of parents would go check to see if their schools is the policy actually updated to reflect those changes, and is there any teeth behind it? Are there consequences, or is it just more talk? Because if it's that, people don't learn. You need to have consequences to alter behavior. And I want to bring America First education back to our kids. I want them to have constitutional literacy. I want our kids just to be able to do basic math. Right now, New Hanover County students, not 60% of our students are not proficient at Math 1. Almost half of them can't read. How are they expected to succeed in life if they can't read? Thank you. I just want to thank you for having me on and being able to share what I'm looking to do. And I want to activate other parents. If I can do it, you can do it. My website, if you want to learn more about what I run for and what I stand for, please visit my website. It's natoshaforschools.com. I'll spell that for you because my dad thought I was extra special and spelled my name a little different. It's natoshaforschools.com. And please vote for Natosha on March 5th.
You're definitely different, and that is why we have you in this race, and we send all the blessings and support to you for your race, because we know we'll have a champion in New Hanover County. How many folks are running for the seat that you're looking to overtake?
My primary, I've got 5 people, myself and 4 others, but there are 3 open seats in New Hanover County.
Which means that you can ultimately take either seat, right? One of those 3 seats?
Yes,
okay. That's
technically, we could make this a full conservative school board if we had the voters behind us.
We can do it. And I know that the voters of New Hanover, listen, there's 3 seats available. Please send Miss Tew to the school board and let her have a chance to occupy one of those seats, Ms. Tew, has been a very good privilege. And are there any other places that they can find you at? Send support, fundraising support, monetary support. How can we do that? Help you get out the vote, maybe some volunteers that can work the polls and things like that for your campaign?
Get activated. Please, you have to vote. Don't think this is going to happen without you being there at the voting place. So get out and vote. Share this. My website is the best way to get the most current information and to donate. If this is not your district to vote in, I'm accepting all donations. There's no amount too small, whatever your budget would allow. This is truly a grassroots movement. We have more yard signs to buy and business cards to hand out. Visit my website. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'll make sure I'll share that with you if you want to share that with all of your audience. That'd be awesome. And pray. I take everyone's prayers. Just pray. It's going to take all of us to get this to the finish line, but I'm willing to do it.
I love it. One of the hardest things in campaigning is asking for monetary support. But on your behalf, I'm going to say that again and do that for you. We know the costs are heavy. If you never worked in a campaign or on a campaign or in your own, expenses add up. And we know that yard signs are probably the most expensive thing besides the mailers that people have to get out to get these votes. And I always say this, and I know you do too, Ms. Tew, elections have consequences. And we're seeing that right here in our presidential race, right here in our U.S. Congress and state races, where we have people who have been voted in continue to promise things that they have not made good on their words. And so we see that. I'm just going to call it out from our presidential side. And we see now more people, I won't necessarily say maybe have woken up, but they're understanding that their pocketbooks are being affected by the policies and the lack thereof of what our current president is doing. And people are saying there's maybe only one more option. And I know people say, listen, when you look at former President Trump, the way he talks and the way he puts people down, we get all that. But I always tell people to close your eyes and to see where you were back in 2016 to 2020, see where things were, and let your vote be swayed on that. And I've even heard some people say the lesser of the evils. And so we have to vote properly. And again, elections have consequences. But I am telling all my listeners that live out of New Hanover County, lend your vote to Ms. Tew. And I promise you, from what I'm seeing, from what I've heard, for other folks that know her, you will have not made the wrong decision. And so, Ms. Tew, as we wrap up, I'll let you just have the last closing words if you do, and then I'll take back over and we'll end this show.
Well, thanks again. I have to mention my website again, because if I don't, my campaign manager is going to shoot on to me. She cracks the whip, but only because she's so passionate about it. She knows what we're doing for the right cause. I've known her since 4 years ago when we were protesting at the park. This is our last chance. People have to get involved. Don't think that your vote doesn't count. It only doesn't count if you don't show up. So show up. Visit my website, natoshaforschools.com. Follow me, share it, come be a part of it. If I'm not in your district, go look who's running in your district, find that most conservative one and support them. And again, please just pray. Pray, and I would proudly and quietly maybe protest at the park again with your American flag and your red, white, and blue earrings. However you can, let people know this is the greatest country in the whole world, and we're not letting go of it without a fight.
I love it. Very passionately stated. And to your campaign manager, she is awesome. I wish that every campaign manager portrayed the character trait she has. She is great. And so I'm glad we had the opportunity to talk, and I hope that this podcast reach many, but special interest right here in New Hanover County. And I know that God will grant you that seat. There's a couple open, and I believe one of them has your name on it. Ms. Tew, I have thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and I want to say, get out and vote for Ms. Tew. And until we meet again on the Real Talk podcast, I always say, reach one, teach one, and definitely God continue to bless the men and women around this great country who are wearing the blue uniform, like myself, who are going out day in and day out to combat crime, and to our military, all of our military men and women serving around this country and around this world, and with a special interest in the Israeli and the Hamas war that is going on right now. We know at some point there will be victory for the Israelis, and we pray that our voters will really make the right decision in this upcoming election. It's very important. March 5th is that primary election, and you can go out and cast your vote for Ms. Tew. Ms. Tew has been a great privilege. And until next time on the Real Talk, you have been listening to Officer Antoine Thomas, and this is a candidate for the School Board of New Hanover County,